say to you? I mean, shit's going to happen, man. You know, right? It's what's called prefiguring. It's very important because here we are swimming around in the weeds. It's beautiful, the water. No, 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 no. Okay. So this is a very important aspect of storytelling. Otherwise, what happens could seem not believable.
Where are we going?
Swimming!
Stop off! Slow down! I'm not drunk! Slow down! Wait! I'm coming! I'm worried! I'm definitely coming! Look! Hold up! I can swim! Just can't walk. Trust myself.
Aha, again. What? Sure, sure. Hold on. Mhm. Okay, then. We have the lights. Any thoughts about that? Okay, let's look at it. There is this thing called an ordinary world before the story begins. Where are we? Well, I'll tell you where we are. You might not know, but we're on an island called Martha's Vineyard. It's a summer resort, depending on tourism. And people go there because they can swim in the water. Good luck. And so all of a sudden, there are these spoiled rich kids at a beach party. Who's the aggressor, by the way? Who takes the initiative? The girl. He survives because he's too drunk to swim. Lucky him. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Spielberg and women and men it's kind of interesting this way. But in other words, anyway, Chrissy, who's the aggressor, gets eaten. I mean, for whatever you want to make of that. But Spielberg, this happens not infrequently in Spielberg. But anyway, it always. But that's what is an incidental piece of film trivia, but dependent on tourism. So what do we do now? Well, let's go to our little oh, sorry, I have to keep going to this. I think I'll just leave it up. Then something happens, right? I mean, something happens. Like it can be like, hey, Jerome, let's go to Marrakesh. Yeah. Then I wake up and I'm hungover and I go, I don't think I'm gonna go to Marrakesh. It's too far. It's hot. That's called the refusal of the call. What happened in this town? They had a town meeting. Oh, we can't. Oh, no, it doesn't exist, this shark. No. Say, no. We have to have, the show must go on. We'll all go bankrupt with that. Okay, so everyone leaves the meeting. The shark. And the shark doesn't exist. Okay? So that's called the refusal of the call. And it's quite common, not always. And then the next thing is you meet a mentor. Now, the mentor often is just another person gets eaten. In other words, some catalytic thing. In the case of my trip to Marrakesh, it might be, well, Jerome, there's really good chicks in Marrakesh, or whatever the hell it is, something in, well, let's go to Marrakesh. There'll be a lot of cool things there. There's the refusal call, a mentor, very common. Okay? And then this is the first act break. In other words, who's seen Deliverance? Ooh, it's a very good movie. Deliverance is about guys that go on a river trip into very hostile territory, and they're kind of civilized, white boys in the middle of like the Ozarks, and shit happens. But there's a point where they set out on the river. In other words, the river's going downstream. No turning back. That's crossing the threshold. Okay? And then the second act typically has sort of complications. And I'm going to sort of show you something else now, and then we'll go back to that. Let's see. Scenes, video. I'm going to show you. Okay, now sometimes movies are about big. They think ideas. They think like, how can we say what this movie's about? Bang, it is. Hit the lights. All right. Now this is now, in the days when we did this, that was a $1 million shot. Today with a drone, $500 shot. Sorry about these logos. I should. I'll have them cut out next time. Okay. Any thoughts about that?
Doesn't give much information.
What?
There's not much information.
Not much information. Okay. I think there's all the information you need if you look at it right. Let me say what. First of all, big image. Boom. Right? The Statue of Liberty. We're pulling away and it's going to work, right? I mean, metaphorically speaking. Go down. Now, you don't know it, but the Staten Island Ferry, Staten Island is a shitty place to live. You live there if you can't afford to live anywhere else. So that's a very coming from Staten Island. So we have working middle class people going to work. She's a secretary with big hair and all this. So we go from this epic, huge Statue of Liberty to this frumpy girl, really, who's going to work. And it's her birthday. And what's your wish? What's this movie going to be about? Her getting her wish. And it's somehow representative of the journey of all women. We wouldn't do something so pretentious otherwise. Don't give information before I want to hear. You know, this is very important. It was like, if you give me information 1 second before it's very important to I may show it to you. And Aaron broke difficult. That's what the movie's about. So it becomes protagonists, antagonists, overcoming obstacles. What's the outcome? That's the idea of egri and the idea. There's also an idea of mounting action. You shake hands with me, I punch you in the face, it's over. It has to mount. In other words, so you don't like you're not like Putin. You don't just, you just don't start off with a big, huge explosion. You have to like mounting action. So that's actually classic 3-act structure and this idea of the hero's journey. And the hero's journey has things in it like, I want you to review this stuff between classes. I think it'll be good for you. Because what I'm realizing is that, how many of you are like writing students? Nobody. Oh, good. Cool. Then you don't have bad habits. Right. Okay, good. All right. So then I'll just take this as a little more literary. At the end of class, I'll make some suggestions of things that you can look at that will help with what we're dealing with today. The class 3-act structure and this. Now let's look at another clip. Now, does anybody know the principle of a thing called an ensemble piece? You know that? Excuse me? An ensemble piece. That's actually good. Yeah, a band is an ensemble. Yeah, absolutely. But in film, an ensemble piece refers to, like multiple protagonists. Pretty good. Ensemble pieces are very tricky. They're very hard to write. This is called The Breakfast Club, and it's a great movie. I want to sort of mention a few things. Number one, how well
We think you're crazy to make us write an essay telling you.
can't believe you can't get me out of this. This soap's not effective.
I'm empty. Honey, ditching class to go shopping doesn't make you effective. Have a good day.
This is the first time in a lifetime we did this.
Last.
You didn't you used the time to your advantage.
Well, we're not supposed to study. We just have to sit there and do nothing.
Well, listen, you figure out a way to study.
Go! You want to lose a match? Who's going to give a scholarship for discipline case?
Jesus. Okay. What do you think? Any opinions? No opinion. I think it's very economical. I mean, I think you know exactly who those people are. I mean, you may not because you're not American or something. But there's no particular quirkiness. I mean, one is a spoiled brat. His father has a BMW, and oh, darling, I'm so sorry. I'll make it up to you and buy you some shit. You know, another is a guy, you know, who's a scholarship kid. You know, you figure out a way to get some work done. Another's a guy whose father was a jock. Probably his father's a plumber or something. I mean, you know, like some kind of blue collar worker who's going to get a scholarship, a wrestling scholarship. And then you have this character who has no father, no nothing, shows up in boots, and he's very iconoclastic, and he breaks everything when he walks in and everything like that. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, it's. Does anybody have any thoughts they want to share about this? Or yeah, go ahead. Excuse me?
How they choose to sit or where they choose to sit.
Oh, very important. It's all very carefully thought out. But again, somebody said not enough information. You still feel that way, not enough information. Be careful. Be careful. But all I'm saying is, like, you know, don't give me some things where I need to. But I think that what you're going to find is that these things, what's interesting about how these characters grow is they create expectations. They transcend them. Okay. Who has seen Mustang? It's a Turkish movie. Whoa, it's so good. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at that, and then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to. And then tell me who's willing to talk a little bit about their stories. Hands up. Now you can also talk about your story, who you are. That's okay too. Your story or their story. What? Yeah. Go ahead. Keep hands up. Way up. Way up. 1, 2. God, you are shy. Yeah. 3. More people were shy. No, no. It's not. There's plenty of people here. Just there's not enough people willing to talk. If there were more people, we'd all get coronavirus. By the way, I thought it was very smart of the king because every day I watch the coronavirus in Morocco. When I'm sitting in America, because I want to come here. They shut down the frontier. And then it starts to go down. 3 days after it starts going down, the frontier are going to be open in 10 days. I'm like, that's good. You know, I mean, he saw the trend and, you know, I thought it was good. In America, they waited until the thing was dead before they let everybody breathe. Um, all right, I'm gonna show you this movie now. This piece, raised by an adopted grandmother or aunt, and okay then, all right. After the break. Okay, good. Thank you.
Kafene kadar değişti. Ben ve rahatlık. Bebeğden her şey bakar. Tamam. Hadi bakalım. Üzüldün mü? Ben sana yardım edeyim. Gördün mü bak? Nerede? Bakın nerede?
Ne yapıyorsunuz lan mahkemede? Sesini tuttu mu?
Elmayı
Okumayın olmalı.
ne oluyor ya sadece? Bir sana elma attık.
Ya onu gidip mahkemede.
Sonay, en büyük test sen. Senden başlayacağım. Çık dışarı. Gel buraya Sonay. Düşürdünüz bizi.
Anne oyun oynuyorduk.
Böyle oyun olmaz. Senin telefonun kızların yoldan çıktı dedi gel buraya. Anlatsın. Gel buraya. Başını kaldıracağım ben sizi. Geri durun. Çekilin.
Ne yapıyorsun?
Okay, what happens as a result of this is that they're locked in the house by their grandmother and her husband, who has an incestuous relationship with one of the girls who ultimately commits suicide. And it's about what happens to these four girls. But the Mustang, who knows what a Mustang is? It's a wild horse, wild, untrainable horse, a Mustang. And the little girl at the beginning is saying goodbye very tearfully to her teacher. And the movie ends when she goes to Istanbul and meets back up with her teacher. But it's all about like how they get out of this house. And you know, one sneaks out with her boyfriend, another gets married, another commits suicide, and then the little girl goes and meets up with her teacher in Istanbul. But it's really a very beautiful movie. It was nominated for an Academy Award. Not that that means that much, but it was really good. I recommend seeing it. Yeah. Okay, now let's go. Let's again. Who's going to talk about stories? Who's going to talk about stories? Okay. God, you're so shy. Okay. Well, yeah. No, I don't need people to be pointed out. I need them to get up when I say to. Anyway, so good. Well, now, as I said, there's two stories here that may be one, really. Well, that's what we're working on here. There's the story you want to tell and your story. I'm happy to hear about either one. Particularly interested in hearing about difficult events, traumatic events, which I had in my life, because those can be the core of the great story you have to tell. Okay. Now, let's take a break for, I don't know how long. Is there coffee or something?
Yeah, but we still have 15 minutes
We have 15 minutes before it comes?
before the pause. Yeah.
All right.
It's 11:30.
Okay. So let's review a little bit about. I think I'll go back into structure and show you one more clip, and then we'll. And I think that what I would like you to do is is to review this on our website. If for those of you interested who want to learn more about it, okay? Because on this website, you go to training. The other thing on this website, by the way, is a lot of different stuff we've done, productions. And they're kind of fun. Trailers, whatever. We did one thing here in Morocco. Has anyone heard of a thing called Project Jour? Woo! Okay, I'll play this little trailer we did. I love this thing. It's about empowering young women. And it's in Marrakesh. It's all over Morocco now. But I'll show you the trailer. Okay, maybe I'll show that. Okay, here. If you go into development, we have for the Phoenicians, a big epic series we're doing. Project Jour. You want to see that little thing? It's in Morocco. All right. All right. Okay, we'll see it. This is a trailer we did, and we're trying to get money for it. And does anyone know who Gloria Steinem is? Gloria Steinem is a very famous American feminist, and she's one of the producers of this.
People were not very accepting of what we do here at the grocery store. And I'm just tired of hearing, you can't do this, you can't do that.
Whoops, the internet. Fuck. Uh-oh. What? It's connected. Shit.
Live stream, that's
What?
because we're doing the live stream, so it might have affected by that.
The last stream.
Live stream.
Uh-oh. This could be a big problem.
I mean, just today.
Just today.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fixed tomorrow.
All right. Let me see what I can do here. I can't show it from any other way. All right, escape.
I think it starts.
What?
No, I thought it started. Let me.
Anyway. Evidently, there's some problem with the internet because we're doing a live stream. I don't know what the problem is, but we'll do something else. We'll figure something else out. Excuse me?
It has started loading again, but she closed it.
Well, we can't wait all day for it to load again. I have an audience here. They have to be entertained. You can't watch. All right. Anyway, so you what? You have one that's fast enough to do this? Really? Well, we'll talk about it after the break. I'm gonna spend a little time here on this structure thing. All right. Okay. as I just explained to you, what I'm going to do is give you a little tour here of training. Okay, this is the training page on the Visionaire site. There's the Visionaire website. And these are people I've taught all over the place. We were in Afghanistan, very interesting. Woo, all over the place, in Cairo and Beirut, all over the place. And then there's a couple here, there's a couple of pictures from the last time I taught here. That's Afghanistan, all that stuff. That's just blah, blah, blah. That's just stuff to make us look good. And then now, we were talking about, a beat sheet for those of you who are, it's very similar to an outline for a movie. And there's about 100 beat sheets here. And it just gives you an idea of, a beat sheet is written from a script backing out and saying, this is what happened in this scene, it's a very, very good discipline for people. And particularly if you want to write in a particular genre, or if you have a certain kind of story, it's good to look at stories that have been told in that form. So these beat sheets can be very helpful. And like, this is just hundreds of pages of these little beat sheets that were done by former students of mine who happen to run Hollywood right now for the most part. Then we have this models of structure thing that I talked about before. And this is all this guy called McKee, which is 3-act structure. And you want to take a look at it. He talks about character, he talks about everything. And this stuff is, who has trouble with English? Okay, good, all right. Well, I still think you're gonna have trouble with this because I do. Anyway, but this is the one I want you to spend some time on, which is this hero's journey here. It's about page. Here's typical sort of like the sort of the arc. Remember how we talked about mounting action around this climactic event here and then resolution. Okay, that's all very good. Okay, now, we talked about this. I showed you this, the ordinary world. Okay, the call to adventure, boom, somebody gets eaten, whatever. Let's go to Marrakesh. Refusal to call, not ready. Meeting with a mentor, crossing the threshold. Okay, now, the second act is a difficult and complicated thing. And if you, who wants to write a short? Writing shorts. Shorts have a different structure. There are people that will tell you that shorts have 3 acts and they're full of shit. Some shorts do. The best short I ever read was a 5-act, but more typically they're 2 acts. And they jump into the middle of something that people already have an understanding of. In other words, if you're in the middle of the coronavirus crisis, we all know what that is. We don't have to learn about it, So, but typically in movies and generally in serial television, limited series like that, there is a 3-act structure to the episodes. The middle of the episode is the protagonist, the person who takes the action, encountering obstacles and overcoming them, or not overcoming them, or failing, or getting in more trouble, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Now, the inmost cave is kind of like the heart of the matter, the most difficult thing. And then there's this supreme ordeal, this like the big climactic event of the film. Well, I'll show you, I'm going to show you clips of these. And then there's a reconciliation at the end, and et cetera. Now, these steps may or may not make sense to you, but I'd like you to take a look at them. What? What? What would you like, Act 3? What do you learn from it? Elixir. The return with the elixir is being like, what's the lesson of this? It's okay. In other words, it's very funny. Has anyone seen a Danish movie called One More or Drunk? Fantastic. Fantastic. I mean, it's about a guy who discovers the only way to live is to be drunk. Okay, now it's in Denmark where there's a big drinking problem, right? It's called Drunk or One More. And do you know what's the name of the actor that's so? Who? Yeah, Mikkelsen. This guy's fantastic. God, unbelievable actor. Anyway, so he's this movie does not return with the elixir. It means it does not give you a lesson. Here's what's significant, which is in drunk, he leaves it to us to determine what's important, which I think is very good. You know, in other words, at the end of this, he's drunk and he's dancing. Now, some shit has happened to his friends and bad things have happened, but it does not make judgments about what it is, the subject. It allows you to make judgments. But obviously, this is a Danish film, and you know, there's a big drinking problem in Denmark. All the Scandinavian countries, people drink too much. It's fun. Anyway, so that's what it is. And so take a look at this to the extent that you can, because these are a little bit complicated. I mean, the idea of obstacles and overcoming things is very important for the second act. The idea of a big climactic event, in other words, the shark is we got to get the shark, you know, is very important. And then when you're returning, it's sort of like the world is back to normal again. You know the expression status quo ante bellum? Means the way things were before the war. Status quo anti-coronavirus, you know, status quo, you know, in other words, the world is back, but something has been learned. That's the elixir. Something has been learned. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to say to you guys that are interested in this, that you can download this stuff too. You can, Models of Structure is very good. And also tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the tools that writers use. That, in other words, and the building block of all that is a scene. So this is a scene book. I'm going to show you a lot of these scenes. These are written books. Who's learning screenwriting in English? Some people. Well, these are very helpful because it also says where you are in the movie. And then the way to teach this stuff is what a good scene is, what a bad scene is. To read these things or see these things and tell me what you think is good about them. Because there's no rules about this stuff. But generally in scenes, there are things, something happens, otherwise it wouldn't be there. Generally you want something that they get or they do not, and how it resolves. So we'll talk about scenes tomorrow, but this is not a bad thing to do. All right, now, scenes, short form. Who's writing in the short form? All right. Here is, this is a short form reader. There's no rules about shorts. None. Anybody who tells you there's rules is full of shit. You have to teach it. You have to teach it by reading things and say, what do you like, what do you don't? Now, I will tell you, for those of you who are interested, the first one, Session Man by Seth Winston, won an Academy Award. It's the best short I've seen. 5 acts. Here it is. A guy wakes up with his wife in a country house, sort of middle class, because he gets a call and he's supposed to come in and play. And he packs up this box, looks like it has a gun in it. So you think, he's supposed to come in. He has a job, right? So he packs up this box, looks like a gun. You think, Jesus, is he going to kill somebody? What's he going to do? He goes into a recording studio where this very famous band, what's this? Oh, let's just get rid of that. Where this very famous band is in the middle of recording, and the lead guitar is having a shit fit and refusing to cooperate with anybody. So they brought this session guy in to take his place. The lead guitar, who's one of the founders of the band, is a famous band, has a shit fit and goes off, runs off. Our guy comes, stars, fantastic. He does great. Of course, they're going to take him on tour. Right? He's going to become the next lead guitar of the whole band. Well, famous band, like, I don't know what, the Rolling Stones. The lead guitar comes back. He feels, you know, they say to our hero, can you step out for a minute? We're going to talk to our guy. They have a beer together and they decide, well, they better keep the band together. So our guy, our hero, goes home and goes to bed, all in a night's work. And he thought he was going to be the next big rock and roll star, you know. And his wife says when he gets home, how'd it go? It's fine. Another night's work. It's really good. But anyway, you can read these, and I can suggest ones to you. And particularly as I get to know the work that you want to do, I can make recommendations. But there is no rules with shorts. Very often they take advantage of something you already know, so you don't have to learn about a foreign world. You know. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a break. And oh, by the way, I'm sitting here because I'm old. I am. But the other thing is I'm about to have surgery on my Achilles tendon, so I don't walk. I have trouble walking, so I'm sitting here. I will walk over there occasionally, but not much. My apologies. Okay. Hey. So what is it? Is it going to be coffee or something?
Yeah, I think it's coffee. Outside. You need to bring your coffee?
Yeah, I will in a minute. I'm just figuring out. It seems like nobody. These aren't really students. These are.
Yeah, you can
What?
for students from
No, but I'm just trying to figure out like what I should. You turn it on now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Now it's on.
Okay, good. There we are. The Brave Girls. There. Training. Fast. Mhm. Okay. Uh, so again, what I want to do this last almost a little more than an hour, I'm going to show you a few more things. And then I wanted to hear people talk about their stories. I also kind of like, I've taught screenwriting for a long time all over the world, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Egypt, Tunisia, and each country has different problems and different things that they want to know about. And so I'm happy, but you have to guide me a little bit, because what I'm starting to sense is that I'm used to dealing with rooms full of writers. And who here is going to be writing a screenplay? Okay. Way up, way up. I want to say, I'm blind. Hold on, 1, 2. Okay. Well, a lot of that has to do with getting it on the. Now, who's going to be in what language? In English? Okay. All right. Well, in other words, I'm going to show you some things that may not be that helpful if you write in Arabic. But I think so. You just have to sort of say, well, the equivalent. Because when you write, what you're trying to do is to give him something that makes him see what's on the screen when it's finally done. You're trying to make him visualize that. So I'm going to show you something, and then I'm going to show you an example of the writing. Now, I can do this for days because there's incredible writing. And Hollywood this writing is very, very, who said not enough information? The less information, the better. It has to be evocative. It has to be poetic. It has to be, you don't say, you don't really too explicit. So I'm going to show you this opening, then I'm going to pause it, and then I'm going to show you the script, and then we're going to watch the rest of it. Okay. This is a film called All the President's Men. Do we know the story of that? Who's seen it? All right. This guy's seen a lot of shit. What? Yeah. What? Okay. Well, this was probably the great American movie of the 70s. It was done by a friend of mine, and Alan Pakula, and very, very, very good director of cameraman. It's the story of like Nixon, the downfall of Nixon and the Watergate. But it's kind of a David and Goliath story. In other words, Nixon was the king of America. Well, look at how it opens. You'll see. He was just this big, all-important guy who happened, in order to stay in power, to have committed some crimes for which he was ultimately kicked out. Who did it? 2 journalists. It's sort of a little bit like an early form of of Tunisia, 27 days in Tunisia. I mean, it's like 2 journalists found out what was going on and brought this guy down because of the power of the word, the power of the word. Okay, so I'll play this opening. Okay, I'm gonna interrupt it. All right. Uh-oh, that's a bad sign. Lights. Okay, now just look at this. It sits there. White. Okay, let's look at the script, okay? I'm going to read it. Fade in on white, just white. The screen isn't blank. That's something white up there. But what? It's impossible to tell. It doesn't go away, though. It just stays there. The whole screen white, and then blam. There's what sounds like a shot, and it reverberates, and whatever the hell it was has made a small mark in the white, and the whole effect should be startling. Now on the white, we can see that the mark is, and it's this, the letter J. Blam! Another terrifying sound, and now we see that this is the letter U. Now a sound begins to be heard, soft but getting louder and louder, and it's a celebration, screams and cheers, and blam, the letter N. Pretty good. Don't you? All right, now.
I have a question. But the place where the letter G is put in the script is for characters, right? Like progresses, like characters in this case.
What?
He's talking about formatting.
Yeah.
What about it?
For the letter J, for example, they use the format for characters.
He's saying that the place where letter J appears, usually the name of the character is put on. Like on a normal screenplay, that's where the name of the character is put.
This is a pre-title sequence. It's not a title sequence. It's not a. It's pre-titles. It's before you see anything. It's the beginning. It's not nothing to do with credits.
I don't know. It's in the place of the character heading.
No, this is a date that you just saw coming on screen.
Yeah, okay.
It's a date. It's saying what the date is, and it's being written. In other words, this, to me, what's significant about this is blam, but it's about a typewriter. It's like, in other words, it's like a gun, the power of the truth. It has nothing to do with credits at all. And look, there's 100,000 ways to do credits. There's no rules about credits. It's what looks good and shows people's names. But this is just, I mean, let's go back to it. This is just a page. This is so you're looking at a page in a typewriter. It's not a credit at all. It's a pre-title sequence, okay? All right, let's just look at some more.
scheduled at 9:30 at the Capitol Plaza. So that you can go up the steps of the House of Representatives, go to the chamber, address the members of the House, of the Senate, Supreme Court, and Diplomatic Corps of Washington. Or inside, waiting for them in the chamber of the House of Representatives.
The President of the United States.
Here are your credits. Don't turn on the lights. How did that happen? Lights. Shit.
Car 727, car 727. Open door of the Watergate office building. Possible burglary. See the security guard.
Are you sure you want us? 517 is closer than their uniform.
They're getting gas. You take it.
Unit 1, Unit 2. Unit 1, Unit 2. What? We're home. Base 1 to Unit 1. Base 1 to Unit 1.
We have some activity here.
Base 1 to Unit 1. Lights on the 8th floor. Base 1 to Unit 1. Is there anybody there? The speaker. People about me on speaker. Base 1 to Unit 1. Base 1 to Unit 1. We may have some problems.
walkie-talkie, 235mm ammo. Got it. That's good. All right, state it. All right, got something for you. See this? Couple sleeping in bed, car hits the house, goes through that bed and comes out the other side. Good morning. Correct. Oh, those is over with Democratic headquarters. One of the burglars had $814. One 230, one 215, and one 234. Most of it. So $9 bills. And in sequence. Woodward. Yeah. It's been a break-in. Democratic headquarters. It's been an arrest. Local Democratic headquarters. Just time arraignment. Anything else? Anything else? Break-in. Oh, credits isn't bad for Saturday. Let me know what happens. Got anything in that problem? Aaron, mostly on Stanford Watergate. All right, Steve, why don't you finish one story before trying to get on another finish? The Virginia legislature story finished. All right, give it to me. Who's the policy chief? I'll work with the policy chief. You work.
Okay, let's talk about that. Hands up who saw this, who's seen this movie? Okay, not too many. It's kind of a classic, but the way it sets itself up is very interesting to look at. First of all, does anybody know like the story of Humpty Dumpty? Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men could not put Humpty Dumpty together again. That's the story. It's a children's aphorism, and it refers to a big important person who sits on a wall, who's very important, and he falls. And this is about Nixon, boom, falls. And all the kings, and the book is called All the President's Men, and all the President's Men could not protect the president from these two guys who we just meet. Now, as we come into the Democratic headquarters in the early 70s, who looks like the good guys? No. The guys in the office have suits on, everything looks nice. The cops look like hippies. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if that's an inversion of expectation. Surprising. Okay. Now, it's not unusual for an undercover cop to look like a bum. That's sort of, part of their gig, but it's a kind of an interesting thing. And then we go to the Washington Post, which becomes the locus of this whole thing. That whole newsroom was lit very carefully by Gordon Willis, who's probably one of the greatest DPs, certainly in America, so that you didn't get bored. You spent a lot of time in there, so it's bright. It's like they did the same thing in Breakfast Club, other movies, where if you're going to spend a lot of time in an interior, you want it to be not overbearing. So we're in this place, and this story comes in. Who do they call? Woodward. That's Robert Redford. What do we know about Robert Redford? What?
He's a journalist. He sleeps on the floor.
He's what?
He sleeps on the floor. He sleeps on the floor.
He sleeps on the floor. Why does he sleep on the floor? No. All right, now, here's what's good writing. He sleeps on the floor because he's too busy to sleep anywhere else. He gets home at night and boom, passes out. What's beside him? His pad and a paper. So he is his work. He's the go-to guy. The guy, if something goes wrong, boom, call him. So he is his work. He has no personal life particularly. I mean, he sleeps on the floor. It's not a great place to entertain. Right? I mean, certain kinds of entertainment, of course. But, I'm saying it's not, you learn a lot about him in 30 seconds. Writes it down, this and that. And also you'll learn a lot about him by the fact that the managing editor, who calls him, relies on this guy. Then you have Carl Bernstein, who's the guy who's played by Dustin Hoffman. What do we know about him? Do we know what ADD is?
Yeah.
Attention deficit disorder? Yeah. Well, okay, that's it. He doesn't finish his story. Well, I know some guys here and there. So he's on the Enneagram, he's a 7. Hello, I am too. So, he has a lot of shit going on. I know some people that want to get into that. You finish one story before you do another. So he's not yet trusted, but he's well connected. We learned that. And but these two characters, very unlikely. To this day, Carl Bernstein is kind of a crazy former hippie coke addict. And Bob Woodward is very straight, like, God. But they're both terrific, smart guys. But in those days, they needed each other. Without it, they would not have solved this story. So that's, but I think what I wanted to show you that was, number one, it's a very interesting setup for a movie. And secondly, I wanted to show you some of the writing and how it gets on the page, because that's interesting. Now, here's another one. All right, now, I'm going to read this first. Now, who's seen American Beauty? Oh, good. Good. It's a good movie. I'm going to read a passage. Now, remember how we talked about, like, sort of the crossing the first thread, like the end of the act break. In this particular case, a guy is bored to death by his life. His life is meaningless. And he sees the closest thing he knows to God, all right, in the form of this cheerleader. Okay, I'm going to read you the passage, and then I'm going to play the scene so you can see how the writing gets on the page. Now, I want to warn you that I try to avoid writer-directors in terms of studying the writing, because a writer-director knows what it's going to look like in his head, so he doesn't have to communicate it that well. So it's just that's a cautionary word. Okay. The high school gymnasium later. They're watching a basketball game. The uniformed girls now stand in formation on the gym floor. Announcer. And now for your halftime entertainment, Rockwell High's award-winning dancing Spartanettes. In the crowded stands, Lester and Carolyn. Lester is our protagonist. Lester, we can leave right after this, right? He's bored to death. A high school band plays on Broadway on the gym floor. The girls perform. They're well rehearsed, but too young to carry off the ambitious Vegas routine they're attempting. Lester, watching from the stands, picks out his daughter. His point of view. Jane performs well. His point of view is very old-fashioned writing. If you just say what I'm seeing, I know what the point of view is. Jane performs well. We know. All right. Concentrating, dancing awkwardly next to her is Angela. Suddenly, Angela looks right at us and smiles, a lazy, insolent smile. Lester leans forward in his seat. His point of view. We're focused on Angela now. Everything starts to slow down. The music acquires an eerie echo. We zoom slowly toward Lester as he watches, transfixed. His point of view. Angela's awkwardness gives way to a fluid grace, and on Broadway fades into dreamy, hypnotic music. The light on Angela grows stronger, and the other girls disappear entirely. Lester is suddenly alone in the stands, spellbound. His point of view. Angela looks directly at us now, dancing only for Lester. Her movements take on a blatantly erotic edge as she starts to unzip her uniform, teasing us with an expression that's both innocent and knowing. Then she pulls her uniform open, and a profusion of red rose petals spill forth, and we smash cut to. We go back to reality. Okay, so we have this very subjective situation. We're manifesting a hallucination, a fantasy. Okay, now I'm going to show you this scene, but it's also just in terms of structure. This is when somebody discovers their mission in life. They see God, all right, as such as God is for this man. All right, here we are. Okay.
What makes you so sure she wants us to be there? Did she ask us to come?
Of course not. She doesn't want us to know how important this is to her. But she's been practicing her steps for weeks.
Well, I'll bet money she's going to resent it. I'm missing the James Bond marathon.
Lester, this is important. I'm sensing a real distance growing between you and Jane.
Growing? She hates me.
She's just real fun.
She hates you, too. We can leave right after this, right?
Okay. Anyway, that's sort of how it got on the page. Do you think it was successful? Very hard to do this. To integrate like sort of naturalism, which is the form of this, which is like, it's like real life with these sort of fantasy sequence that are still sort of naturalistic in a certain kind of way. I think it's, I think it's extraordinary. And I think also in the writing, he's the director, Sam Mendes. So he knew what he was going to get, so he didn't have to make it that, aptly described. But anyway, is there any interest in seeing about how writing goes to the screen, how you actually see it like that? I mean, just one of these two things I showed you. Because if there isn't any interest, I don't have to do it. If there is, I can do it 100 times. It seems like I don't know what you're interested in. Stories. We're hearing your stories now. New York Yankees. You ready to talk about your story? I want you to talk to me about your story. Well, you said you would.
Yeah, of course I will.
All right.
Yeah, but I wrote it last year and I didn't think about it until now. And it was actually an idea for a short movie. And then we started developing it until
Can you speak up a little bit just for me?
What?
Can you speak up a little?
You want me to speak up? Okay. You want me to start again from the beginning?
No, I understood what you said so far, which was you haven't thought about it in years, but there we are.
So the main idea was about it was like a group of people, and there is like one leader between them, and this group they do stuff like journalism and and so they're gonna start with a project. This project is they're gonna make a portrait about someone.
And this someone like they choose it like randomly because like that's how they do. That's how they work. I had no idea why did I choose like they gonna like choose this someone who's gonna make the portrait randomly. I have no idea why. I forgot, but that's it. And they decided first like whoever this dude or who's gonna choose, like they're gonna go forward with it. There is no turning back. And then uh, when they would start like this dude, this leader, is like he's following like he's following rules of how to make a portrait. And the first thing like they're gonna start with is the name of this guy and his date of birth, his date of death, and like what he did and stuff, and like his work in general. So like he's gonna start like writing everything on the whiteboard. He's gonna like make a timeline. He's gonna draw a timeline and like his the dates of birth and stuff and his work and everything. But when they're gonna arrive to his date of death, he's gonna find out that he's still alive, and there is no turning back.
Okay.
So they're gonna kill him.
Jesus. Now wait a minute. All right. Now wait. First of all, like they do things like journalism. There's no. In other words, are they journalists?
He was like he was a decent journalist.
All right. Well, in other words, specificity is very important.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you the why and when and what and how. He was a journalist, but he lost his job because of the new media, like we're seeing now.
Okay.
He used to do things the right way, like the old-fashioned way, like we used to see before. But now, thanks to this new media stuff, like it's so cheap. So he lost his job because of that, and he wants to come back the same way he did before.
He wants to come back to doing the classic way.
Yeah.
So is he unemployed now?
Yeah.
Okay, but now why? See, the idea of taking people randomly is not good for film because every decision is important and it tells you things about who I am for choosing you and who you are for being chosen. So it's very important. I mean, are you interested in this? So try to make the person specific, not random. Randomness is not good for narrative. Randomness doesn't tell us enough. Specificity tells us. I'm choosing you because of your hair or whatever. You know, I mean, you know, but so, and also, why do you choose this guy? Is this guy someone whom you admire, et cetera, et cetera? Now, this idea of rules is very important it generally is a post-colonial issue. Now, this was true in America too. For 150 years, Americans went, well, you know how they do it in England and da 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 da. And there was this big problem. It was called a provincial dilemma, which was like, do we assert our own culture, which is not so good, or do we copy British culture? It took 150 years for America to grow up, and it's a post-colonial issue in all former French colonies, all of them. So the idea of rules is something that people should look closely at, because film, in order to be creative, there are no rules. There's no rules for credits. There's no rules, you know, I mean, the rule is like, you know, tell the truth in a compelling way and people will go see it, you know? So rules is an interesting thing, an interesting way to start. And obviously it seems to me in your story that the rules become very irrelevant very fast. On the other hand, why do you want to kill this guy? I mean, I want to know that. You can't just decide to kill some guy. I mean, that sounds like, well, gee whiz, let's do a thriller. But I mean, you know, there's got to be a reason. And I mean, and it seems to me the reason that you would kill someone, the reason you want to do an interview with somebody is because you admire. And then the reason you want to kill him, I don't know.
Killing him might get more audience.
That's not bad. All right. Okay. Okay. That's pretty good. That's true. You make it more famous. Okay. And not only that, but he could be doing stuff now. I mean, this is very common when people disappear. It's very common when people, you know, like say he sort of disappeared from his famous thing, whatever. Maybe he's like behaving badly now. Maybe he's an alcoholic. Maybe he's like not doing things. He's betraying your idealization of him. So we're going to kill him. All right. Now, anybody else want to share some? Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm saying you want to say about his film. Go ahead.
Kind of see a lot when you touch on it on the fact that you don't really have any rules to tell stories and stuff. I think more so helps us more than he thinks. So there's a way he teaches people how to, you know, structure narrative and structure stories and all of this stuff. And when people try to start telling stories, they usually like kind of feel compelled to use these tools and everything. But it's good to know like that you don't have to rely on them just as much as long as you show.
Yes, that's very important. It's very important, as I mentioned, the post-colonial issue, but it's very important for young filmmakers. You're losing all these rules. Well, at some point, the story becomes bigger than the rules. You know, that's good. Go ahead.
It's also a personal opinion, but I believe that knowing the rules is important to break them correctly.
Hello. Yes, I completely agree.
At least having that base of understanding how something should function, you could rely on that expectation to subvert it somewhat well.
That's good. Nota bene. You know what that means? Pay attention. Yeah, absolutely. And what I have on this here is sort of a whole catechism. Do you know that word, catechism? It's a religious term. But I mean, it's like a whole, all you ever need to know about what's been done before. But again, I think the idea of having rules that you're following and rules that you're following in filmmaking, rules that this guy, you know, and then the story takes over and it's not about the rules anymore. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about, I'm going to get some more, but here's what we're going to do. I'm going to talk about, tomorrow, I'm going to talk to you about the tools that writers use. I'm going to review a little bit, the structure a little bit, just verbally, and then I'm going to talk about the tools that writers use to tell the story. So it's going to be like the scene. That's the building block of the whole thing, the scene. But then there's montage, flashback, you know, all these different ellipses, which is flash forward. And I'm going to give you lots of examples of these things so you can see these tools and how they could be useful to you as a writer. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. But what I'm encouraging people to do, of those who are, you know, really writing something, is to try to let this stuff wash over you and see if you can evolve your story to something that by Thursday night we could put onto a, you know, we could put onto we could put a link and you can look at everybody's stories where they are, and we'll spend all day Friday talking about them. Can you, we need an attendance list.
Yeah, it's coming up at 12.
It's coming.
Yeah.
You got to have people sign up.
I know. Yeah.
Well, you know, let's do it right here, right now. Here. But I mean, we need your name. We don't need your address. We need like a phone and an email, because that way we can communicate with you. And then also we can put, you know, like we if you want to show, you know, like your work, share it with other people. You put it, we can arrange all that. Because the best thing, look, let me explain. Everybody cares what the professor thinks, and in the real world, no one gives a shit what the professor thinks. What's important is the person on your right and the person on your left. That's your audience. You're the audience. So your opinions about this stuff are more important than mine. particularly the particularities of being Moroccan today in Morocco, or North African, or young people. It's more important. I'm there to kind of like, yeah, well, this is what's been done before, blah, blah, blah. But the opinions of your peers are the most important thing because that's your market. And, you would think that the heads of TV stations are, really the ones that make the decision. But the truth is, if something gets on television and it doesn't do well, you won't have another job. So really, it's making these things interface with the market, which are your peers. Okay, that's the point. Who's next? Okay.
So my story is about prosecutor, like a judge, but before the prosecutor. He's a prosecutor, and he's not very. I mean, he's lawful, but he's not just.
He's lawful but not just?
Yeah.
Whew, that's a mouthful. Come up a little closer, okay?
Yeah, sure.
There's an echo in here. By the way, why don't people sit closer? I hear better. All right, good. Am I intimidating? No. Okay. Go ahead.
So that's about the prosecutor. He's lawful but not just.
Now explain to me, because in American law,
Yeah.
there's a judge, and then there's a prosecutor who is prosecuting, and they call that a district attorney or somebody who prosecutes you. I recently had this. And you have to get a lawyer who defends you. So you have a prosecutor but I think French law is different.
Yeah, before you see a judge, you see someone and he tells you what you have done and he puts that.
It's basically Kil Malik, which is our version of the district attorney.
A juridique?
Yeah, it's our version of the district attorney. So
This guy is.
yes.
Oh, okay. So he's the guy, if you're a criminal. I go to this guy. The juridique, is that the word? Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, I get it. All right, now when you say he's not just,
I mean, sometimes he goes overboard on the sentences to people, or, I mean,
okay, that's good. That tells us something.
yeah.
And also, like, what if he's a racist or something? Or he doesn't like poor people, or that's okay because, again, if you show that early then there's somewhere for this guy to go. We hope, or else, if the people he's sentencing cruelly, if those people decide to do something about it,
So we see him like judge like two people that it's a girl and a man. They were just working together in the same house, but their janitor reported them, and now they are facing charges. And he enjoys the fact.
A janitor?
Yeah.
Where they work?
No, in the house. In the
Court?
No, janitor in the apartment complex, exactly.
Is facing charges.
The two people, the woman and the man, are facing charges because of the janitor.
Are they having sex or what?
No, they're just working together. And
They're facing charges because the janitor's brought something against them.
Yeah.
What is the charge?
Yeah, extraordinary.
So basically, because a man and a woman shared the same space within an apartment, the janitor called the police, said thing X is happening, thing X is happening, and they're facing charges because it's wrongful that is.
You can't share the same space with a woman?
Yeah.
Damn. How do you have children? Excuse me. Damn. This has got to be tough for population growth or something, But you can. All right. Well, let me get this straight now. I have a girlfriend. We go back to my apartment. to have water.
Yeah.
Okay. That's illegal.
Yeah. So basically, you're a foreigner, it doesn't apply to you, but for us, if somebody.
Merd, baby, merd. I mean, really.
So, for example, if a neighbor calls the police that they have nothing to do that day, they can come knock, and if you guys are sharing the same space, even if you did not do anything, you're facing charges, and that is a very slippery slope.
Wow. Damn.
We suffer.
It's a cat and mouse game.
Boy, there's a lot of movies could be made about this problem. How do you get around that? Go camping? The correct places. And people don't care in wealthier or what? Wealthier.
Higher middle, like upper middle class.
Oh, so in upper middle class, they don't care. Okay, so they're facing. Let's continue with the story because that it's you got my attention now that it's illegal to be in the same place again. What if like I'm in the same room with you guys? Is that okay?
If you're a foreigner, nothing applies to you. You can do whatever you want.
We're not illegal right now. There's no prosecution.
I agree, that's funny.
Oh, I had this happen actually. I did have this happen. I was in a hotel, and this woman came who was going to help me with a project. Her name is, she's a production person. Her name's Selwa. And she's a production person. I said, well, come on up the room. I can't. I said, what the hell? What are you talking about? She said, I can't come up the room. This was not a romantic interest. This was just a production, you know, like to see. And it's true. If I wanted her to come to the room, I had to rent her a room. And then she could walk down the corridor. Good for business. Jesus. I didn't do it. I mean, it was good. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Keep going.
So essentially, I use this scene to show the judge is not a very good person and he enjoys applying sentences to people that don't necessarily deserve them. He's enjoying his system essentially, and after that, like, that's the problem with my story. Essentially, I want him to lock up his own kids, his own children. They are grown-ups, but they've done some illegal stuff, maybe some.
Who? His own siblings?
Yeah, his own children.
His own children become arrested.
Yeah, by his own hand. But the problem is, I have to find a way to separate the group where his kids are. So he only sees the people that are not his kids, and he locks them up. But then he gets notified that his kids are in a problem.
Is he divorced? Can you divorce here?
Yeah. Very good question.
I'm sorry. I'm just curious. You know, I just want to know when I'm going to get killed when the prosecutor's arriving. Anyway, so.
After that, he gets notified his kids have a problem, maybe that by an official.
Which you got a lot of things going on here. You've got a housekeeper bringing charges against people for sharing an apartment. Are they conjugal? Do they have sex?
No, they're
Just sharing the apartment.
just sharing. But that's a characterization scene for the prosecutor.
Okay. All right. And then his children are being prosecuted.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good setup. That's a good setup. The guy's an asshole, and he's punishing people that. Is there any type of person that he punishes more severely than others?
I'd say liberal people or
What?
liberal people, maybe.
Liberal.
Liberal.
He doesn't like liberals.
Maybe or not, but we don't. It's a short movie, so I don't think we have a lot of time to show many profiles.
Who in this room considers himself a liberal? Nobody? In America, like liberal, it means I believe in women's rights. I believe in equal opportunities. I believe in LGBT, like gay rights. I believe in universal health care. That's liberal. Conservative is Trump. Oh, God. But not really. There are very good conservatives that believe in just like not, being conservative about spending money. Then in foreign, oh, it's complicated. Who considers himself a liberal here? Wow, it went from 0 to blast off. Yeah, okay, good. That's good. That's good. Because if no hands went up, I'm going to go out the door because I'm a liberal. I'm a liberal, but I'm kind of conservative about some things, like about money. I am. I don't think you should. I think America's having inflation problems because they spend too much money. Well, this is a good idea. We work on this. All right, we work on this. Good start. Yes. Go ahead.
So, mine is about a family living in a villa in the mid 2000s. It's so to set it up, I'm a very avid I like surrealism and the absurd. So I like surrealism to explore, to emphasize what is real about certain places. So a lot of things in Morocco are absurd or surreal in nature, but to us, we're used to them. We're so used to them that it is what it is, right? But if you portray that within the context of film, it becomes very interesting, especially to a foreign audience or to Moroccans themselves who usually don't see that stuff that happens shouldn't really happen that way.
Well, I mean, what you're talking about is satire, really.
A little more or less, but okay. To continue, my story is about a family, right? That lives in a villa. The head of the family,
When you say a villa, is this like, are they wealthy?
well, getting to that. So one person of them.
But when you say a villa,
Yeah, it's basically the version of a middle class house.
okay, all right.
So this villa is in front of a beach. The head of the family is a man who went to Europe, gathered money. His goal was to work until he reached €1 million and then come back, retire, and enjoy his life. Right?
Until he did what?
Until he saved €1 million, then to come back and retire and just have an infinite party, basically.
I like it.
So he lives with his sister, his sister's husband, their kid, his mom, and then sometimes people come in and out of the house because it's family visits, friends visit, and so on. But that's the nuclear base of who our characters are. So he's an alcoholic. His sister's husband is an alcoholic, and alcoholic in the sense that they do enjoy alcohol. It's usually that's the source of the party. The setting is summer, so basically summer is literally.
Let me stop you a second.
Yes.
Has this guy got his €1 million?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, that's a good setup. It's a really good setup. Yeah. Is he going to find somebody to party with now?
His sister's husband.
Hey, you got my attention.
Yeah. So.
And they drink. Right, I get that.
So,
by the way, who drinks in this room? Who drinks? Who drinks? I think Moroccan wine is good. I don't drink, of course. I think it's good. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
But so, it's okay. So now we have the setup. But the mom and the sister are two devout Muslims. Prayer, no drinks, nothing. So we get to explore the dynamic of two people of opposite ends of the spectrum sharing a space and how that intertwines in relationships and so on. Also, the kid is basically used as a little server who goes up.
Whose kid is it?
It's the sister and the husband.
Right, and he's carrying on with the sister.
So, husband, wife, who is also that dude's sister, the $1 million, like the €1 million.
All right.
Right. And so the kid is being raised by two opposite ends of the spectrum. At the same time, he gets beers from the garage, pops them, brings them to drink. And at the same time, he goes to Quranic school. He is raised as a Muslim from that other.
The kid.
Yes.
All right.
So,
I'm down. Have you thought about having, when this guy makes his €1 million and he's coming back and he's going to have a wife or a mistress, right? But what if he builds his own little house on the property, his own little villa on the property? It would be interesting for contrast, to have the traditional house and then his new place that he's built.
Well, It's interesting because he made that space his own. Like it was already like I'm getting to that.
Thank you. How are we doing on signing this stuff? Are we going to be able to finish? No, I mean finish. Sign. I need their. Where is it? Is it finished?
Not yet. It's
All
gonna
right.
come down to here and then it's gonna be
Well, let's go, guys. Let's move it. All right. I mean, we don't have to get everybody today, but it'd be nice. We send out notices. We bother you. I like your idea.
It's based on true events, by the way.
So were you going to those nice classes? Were you going to? Yeah, of course. Ça se voit. Ça se voit. Right. Yeah, ça se voit. Okay. 2000, huh? Yeah, just about then.
Officially, alcohol is illegal to Muslim people. Officially, but
It's officially illegal. Let me tell you something about illegal. I'm staying at this hotel, which is La Tour Hassan, okay? But it has all sorts of weirdness about it. But a half a block from the hotel is the biggest liquor store I ever saw in my life. Really, I mean, I went, whew, damn, I mean, and really nice. The girl knows all the wine. Oh, no, monsieur, this is one here, this one there.
She's probably a trained sommelier because
She's very knowledgeable.
yeah,
No, she's very knowledgeable about French and Moroccan wines and also Spanish. I was kind of impressed. Yeah, and they have rum, all kind of shit, everything in there. It's huge. So why is it illegal?
it's an Islamic country. We have to abide by the Muslim doctrines because we don't have separation of church and state like you guys have. Well, technically, you guys don't have that as well, but our laws are based on Muslim laws.
So, but in hotels, it's okay because they are foreigners. But a lot of restaurants, it's okay.
It's okay in general. It's just we're slowly moving away from
It's okay
inside the spot where you drink. It's fine. You just
It's not. I don't know. I'm funny about it because it wouldn't be bad for me to live in a country where I couldn't drink. It wouldn't be bad. Yeah. I periodically I don't drink for a long period of time, and I like it actually. Just tastes so good. You want to keep going with your story?
Yeah. So the story is basically the arc of where it starts off as a lot of fun. It's parties. It's like friends of this dudes come. It's literally a party every day. But throughout the arc, we see how the relationships strain and how what was once fun isn't anymore, right? And it's a character study of each of these people throughout this summer.
So it's what we call an ensemble piece.
It is an ensemble.
Okay, because I can track you through it pretty well, the young boy. But I'd like to know, just by the end of the week, like what the journey of each character is, where they go and what they become, and what. I got to tell you, man, it's a good idea. There you go. Now, are you in school? What are you doing?
Was at school, did finance, wrote a little bit for 2 years. So basically, my job is to write college essays for people.
College?
Yeah. Basically, people come to me, I write their admissions essays, they get it.
Jeez, that's good. That's good. Are you headed to Europe for your €1 million?
No, but it's not really.
You should be inspired by your uncle, I agree. My parents were very rich, and I hated it. I mean, I had a childhood that you'd be envious of and flew around and all that. But when it came time to grow up, and I'm looking around for somebody that I want to be like, someone who I want to copy, nobody. And it had to do with alcohol a lot too. Parties, social books, and I just got out of there. And then when I was in college, every day I'd go to a movie. And I go, damn. life in these movies is better than my life. I want to make films. And I didn't really put it together. It's, just because you make films, it doesn't mean your life is like that, But anyway, and that's what attracted me to cinema. It was just different from what I grew up with. Yeah. Okay, somebody else.
Oh, I had a question about this film.
Yeah, go. The most important thing is to get people talking about each other's stories. Okay.
Is it a short film or
So in order to properly study this, I need more than 2 hours. So it's gonna be a series.
That's a good idea. That's a very good idea.
Break things down.
Have you seen Euphoria? All right. As a template, that's a pretty good thing. I'll tell you why. Each episode has a little mini bio of somebody, each character, and it's kind of their episode. That's a good template. Okay. Well, that's complicated. The structure, it's not. I have this friend who teaches here in Morocco. Well, her name, does anybody know Danielle Suiza?
Yeah, I know.
Well, we have to have subplots if it's more complicated than that. But anyway, but it's a very good form. Is there a reason it's 4 episodes?
I still haven't figured out.
Okay, because that's cumbersome. Because people like more if they're going to spend the money. And also, it feels like there's how many family members?
5.
Is there some other person who comes into this?
Oh yeah, a bunch. So we're gonna.
No, not a bunch, but one primary one, 2.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Sounds like 7 episodes. I'm doing one. I'm doing an 8-episode one about the. I can show you a trailer about the Arab Spring. Yeah. Show you. You want to see a trailer? Tell me what you think. Yeah, we're just. Does anybody know this Tunisian director called Barsawi? Whoa, a movie called A Son. Wow, really talented. He's going to do one. We're going to have an American. Oh shit. Oh, Danielle Suiza. Really? Bye. No, not going to happen. Anyway, so here we are. Let me show you this. Okay. This is an 8-part series about the birth of the Arab Spring. It's about how some guy, gets pissed off and sets himself on fire, and somebody gets it on a cell phone, and boom, 27 days later, the first wired revolution. All right, so here we are. And we're going to, all right. You can see all this shit at your leisure. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'll show you the short trailer. Okay.
So you wrote this?
No, I run a fund. I wrote for years and years. But now I run a fund that invests in media. So most of the things I do are like I work with people, and I do that now and teach some. But I mostly I do. We have 22 projects, so there's a lot of stuff to do. But sometimes I'll rewrite something, or I work with the writers and stuff like that. This is what.
Are you a producer?
Well, on everything we're doing, I'm an executive producer. But we were going to do a thing in Morocco that I was going to direct, which was about. Has anyone seen a series called Chef's Table? Haute cuisine. I was going to do one about Moroccan, or Morocco. Yeah, the series. We were affiliated with Chef's Table. Is Wifak here? Oh, son of a bitch! You better be nice to her. She's going to be hiring a lot of people. There we are. We were going to do a Chef's Table type show, but it was the timing was not good. I'd say the timing wasn't good because the coronavirus and also that you were like not ready quite to expand. Anyway, you better be nice to her. She's going to be hiring a lot of people. She's also very efficient. All right, here we go. I like it. Anyway, yeah, we're negotiating that now. You know, so we have a script, we have a Bible, and also anybody who wants to see these things, I could arrange. You know, I could send. If you want to see the materials that we use to sell something, some of these are already on our site. You know, just the sizzle reels.
So you're basically shopping it around?
Well, I'm a selective shopper. No, I am. We're in discussions with the best Tunisian producer, a guy called Habib Attia, and who's interested, and then who put us on to two different Tunisian directors who would be good for episodes. Yeah, who has been nominated for Academy Awards twice. She did a movie called The Man Who Sold His Skin, and another one. But they're both nominated for Academy Awards. So these are the two directors. And then there's a director we have. Does anybody know a series called Mr. Robot? Hey, Sam. He's Egyptian. He's a student of mine. And Sam Esmail. And I think I'm going to try to get him to direct the pilot and be kind of the godfather to think, because he was inspired by the Arab Spring. Mr. Robot was inspired by the Arab Spring. But the other person that might direct is my wife, who's directed 20 movies, who invented music videos, who did the first movies ever to do big. Anyone seen like scary movies like Pet Sematary? She directed those, and she just did a movie. She does scary thrillers, right? And then she got a job doing a romantic comedy for Netflix called A Castle for Christmas. You've seen it? Anyway, 40 million views. 40 million views. They're dying at Netflix. They've hired her. She's now in Utah doing another Christmas movie. But she's much more known for doing thrillers. And she would probably direct one or two episodes. We could probably get the thing sold to Netflix with just her. But I'd kind of like to have Sam Esmail. It gives it a little more marquee value. I mean, my wife's quite known in the States, but her name is Mary Lambert. But it would be nice to have, somebody who, and he sort of, I think he'll give a nice, he'll give a nice shape to the thing. But the idea is, what I do with these projects, even like something we do with Morocco, in Morocco. We had a number of projects here, but is you try to bring in enough so that it's perceived as an international co-production, but keep it as many of the people from the country as possible. Just enough. But some of the smaller projects we just do, just with Morocco, just with Lebanese, just with Tunisians. Now, where's the sign-up sheet? Okay. Does anybody else want to talk? Shoot. We're fucked.
So I have two stories, but I'd like to talk. One is more developed, like I have it written down, I have a log line and everything. But the one that I want to talk about is the one that's still in development.
Good.
It's horror, more psychological horror than anything. It's about a woman that lives in a village. She's in her 40s, and the most important thing about her, that, like you can see from the beginning of the story, is that she loves children. She wants her own children. She's a teacher, and she's in
How old is she?
In her 40s.
40s? Too late to have children, no children. That's good.
And she can't have children.
Good.
So she's a teacher of young children. She babysits all around the village. She lives in like a village. It's very small. And she has like her neighbor. She likes her neighbor's son. Not like she wants to adopt him. Like she would like him to be.
She likes him like a mother.
She likes him like a mother. She teaches him in her class, and like she's always like she sees that the mother is not doing enough.
Okay.
Like she always calling her in from like a teacher parent meeting. She finds faults in her like parenting. So that's the opening scene. Like she's arguing with the mother. Later on, she mysteriously like she starts to get sick. She has phantom aches in her stomach, and then
The woman.
the woman.
Okay.
So this is what you remember. This is a horror movie.
Right.
So she starts to get doubts that she's pregnant. There's no way that she could have gone pregnant. Medically, she can't, and also there's no circumcision. You know, that's when she. Well, it's very heavily based on like Moroccan culture of jinn.
Jinn. Someone's got to do that right. There was this one that was about jinn. Was in I don't know where, Jordan or something. Piece of shit. Jinn is cool. My wife just believes in all this stuff. She really does. When we moved in, when we got married, she told me, she said, there's a ghost that lives here. I said, there's what? The ghost. I don't see any ghosts. I paid no attention for 3 months. And after 3 months, my wife said, the ghost moved out. You didn't like her. I never saw the guy. My wife believes in this stuff. I'm telling you. So I had to put you under my wife to coach you on your story.
Well, jinn and black magic is like, to me, it's not taken advantage enough in like Arab horror movies because everybody here believes in jinn and like black magic. So, and I love horror movies. But like most of the stuff that I write is like based on Western culture.
Right.
And so I wanted to do something like in Morocco that was like based on Moroccan culture, and that's when I had the idea. At first, she was gonna be like a normal lady, but then I was like, but I want her because like in Moroccan culture, you would just say, oh, have her go to like a priest, and she'd get rid of it. But I was like, no, I want her like to want to keep the baby. And like that brings in the issue of like single mothers, pregnant single mothers.
Single mothers must be very unpopular here, huh?
Yeah. Especially in like a village. She's having so
Right. Oh, it's a village
yeah, but
in the Atlas, no doubt.
the conflict would be in that she'd want to keep the baby, even though it's a ghost baby. And then her stomach keeps growing, there's nothing there, and as she's facing all this like resentment from the people in the village she lives in, like everybody knows her, everybody knows she's unmarried and she's old, she's in her 40s, but like she wants to keep the baby. And she starts to get the idea of putting like the spirit of the jinn and the child that she loves, like in his body. It's still in development.
That's okay. Let me tell you. We were going to do a jinn project in Morocco that my wife was interested in. And anytime she wants to do a horror movie, I can immediately get the money for it. Boom. So she was interested in somebody, there's a crime or something's committed. And they needed to bring in, and it was jinn involved. So they had to bring in somebody to work with the police to help solve this. We thought it was interesting. We never did anything with it. But that's a good idea. It's a good start. Good start. Bye. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. Come tomorrow, 10 o'clock. We're going to have some entertainment for you.
I have a few questions about the story.
What?
I have a few questions.
Sure, go.
Like, how does she know there's a gene? Like if I understood well, there's a gene inside.
There's a lot of stories like of like it's 9 months pregnant, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So that's what I was inspired from.
Okay.
And sometimes she actually gives birth.
But
Like,
how does she know?
She knows is that she starts like getting like
Mhm.
natural symptoms.
What? Yeah. Well, now, are we supposed to? What about this? These people on a live feed. Do they have questions? I mean. Okay. All right. So, by the way, I'm going to be here for a while. If anybody wants to talk to me personally, without what? We have to put out a master list, though. Okay. Because what we can do on Wednesday. By the way, if you want to send me something written, yeah, I mean, the more you give me, not too much. I mean, I need to be able to help you with the story. But in the case of this, if it's a number of episodes, just give me what you can, because I can sleep on it and I can meet with you. I'm going to be here for a while. And it's a very good idea. You don't go to school, huh? You get other people into school. That's a good character. That's a good character.
It's also a little bit of a study on addiction.
What?
Addiction. Because, so for example, okay, that's much so basically, it's an interesting thing because since, for example, the main character has seen what alcohol does to people, because the dad is supposed to die, and that would be the beginning and the downfall of the whole space and continuum of the party.
Mm-hmm.
But I never touched a drop of alcohol in my life, and so.
Good for you. Good for you.
I did replace one addiction by a couple of others.
When you smoke dope?
A lot of hash.
Hash, yeah, I like. Hi. How are you? Tell me your name. Excuse me? Wahil. Oh, good. I'm glad you're here. Come tomorrow.
So
you still smoke a lot of hash?
No, please.
It's not a good thing for continuity of effort and vision.
But it was important because.
Oh, listen, I did every day for 3 years. I smoked dope.
Yeah,
I did psychedelics. I had to get through the porthole. No. That's exactly right. You're in the right place. But I mean, I say this to students. I say, whatever works. I have one friend who's one of those brilliant writers that ever lived. Wait a second. You stay here. One of the most brilliant writers that ever lived. And he wrote something, and I tried to sell it for him, and he interrupted the meeting and said, well, I'm an independent company, and I had a big offer from Fox. And he,
Oh,